Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to be unraveling the mystery behind chimerism.
Oh yeah, chimerism.
Where one person has two distinct sets of DNA?
It's like having a secret twin
Right.
woven into your very being.
Yeah.
It's
We're using a stack of articles and research to guide our exploration.
Oh wow.
And trust me, you're going to want to hear this.
I'm already interested.
We'll be looking at real-life cases,
Okay.
how chimerism is tested,
Ah.
and why it even matters to you.
Yeah, I think that's what most people want to know.
Yeah, for sure. One of the most compelling stories we'll be unpacking involves Lydia Fairchild,
Oh yeah, Lydia's case.
who was told she wasn't the mother of her own children.
Wow.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Lydia's case really throws a wrench into our typical understanding of DNA and identity.
Yeah.
It's a powerful illustration of how chimerism can turn our assumptions upside down.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is chimerism?
Well, in the simplest terms,
Hmm?
chimerism occurs when two fertilized eggs or zygotes
Right.
merge early in development.
Okay.
It's like two separate individuals combining to create one,
Yeah.
resulting in a single person with two sets of DNA.
So instead of developing as twins,
Right.
they become one person
Uh-huh.
with two distinct genetic blueprints.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
It is.
It's like something out of a science fiction novel.
It really is. And it challenges our understanding of what constitutes an individual at a fundamental biological level.
You mentioned Lydia Fairchild's case earlier.
Yes.
I'm dying to hear more about it. It sounds like something straight out of a legal drama.
It really is a remarkable story.
Mm.
Lydia was applying for government assistance
Okay.
and was required to undergo DNA testing
Uh-huh.
to prove her relationship to her children.
Right.
The result came back showing no genetic match.
Oh, wow.
She was accused of fraud and even faced the possibility of losing custody of her children.
That's shocking. I can't imagine the turmoil she must have gone through.
It was a very difficult time for her.
How could she not be genetically related to her own children?
Well, further testing revealed the truth.
Okay.
Lydia was a chimera.
Uh-huh.
It turned out that her reproductive organs
Uh-huh.
carried a different set of DNA than the rest of her body.
Okay.
This second set of DNA belonged to her absorbed twin.
Wow.
And it was this DNA that matched her children.
So the DNA test was accurate,
Right.
but it only told part of the story.
Exactly.
It's a perfect example of how chimerism can create these unbelievably complex situations.
And this is where it gets really important, legally speaking.
Yeah.
Lydia's case set a precedent,
Uh-huh.
highlighting how standard DNA tests
Okay.
can be unreliable
Right.
in cases of chimerism.
Yeah.
It forced the legal system
Uh-huh.
to reevaluate how it approaches DNA evidence,
Right.
particularly in paternity and maternity disputes.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder how many other cases might have been decided incorrectly because of undetected chimerism.
It's a chilling thought.
Yeah.
Lydia's story really underscores the need for greater awareness and understanding
Right.
of this phenomenon within the legal community.
So we have Lydia, who was completely unaware of her chimerism until this legal battle.
Right.
Are there other cases where people discovered their unique genetic makeup in similarly unexpected ways?
Absolutely.
Right.
Take Karen Keegan, for example.
Okay.
She needed a kidney transplant
Uh-huh.
and underwent genetic testing to find a suitable match.
Okay.
But the test revealed that she wasn't genetically related to her children.
No.
It was a complete shock,
Yeah.
just like in Lydia's case.
So two women living their lives.
Right.
Completely unaware that they were carrying this hidden genetic complexity within them.
And they're not alone.
Oh, really?
Chimerism can manifest in a variety of ways,
Okay.
sometimes even visibly. Consider Taylor Mull, a singer and model
Okay.
with two distinct skin tones on her torso.
Wow.
She was later diagnosed as a chimera,
Uh-huh.
with the different skin pigmentation reflecting the genetic contribution of her absorbed twin.
It's amazing to think that something as visually striking as different skin tones
Right.
can be a sign of this hidden genetic phenomenon.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
And it highlights how chimerism can be much more than just a scientific curiosity.
Right.
It can have profound impacts on
Yeah.
people's lives and identities.
These cases are incredible.
They are quite fascinating.
But if chimerism can be so subtle,
Uh-huh.
how is it even detected?
That's a great question.
What kind of testing is involved?
Well, standard DNA tests,
Uh-huh.
like those used in paternity tests or crime scene investigations,
Yeah.
usually rely on samples from saliva or blood.
Right.
But when we're looking for chimerism,
Yeah.
we need to be more comprehensive.
So it's not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. We need to analyze DNA from multiple tissues,
Oh, wow.
hair, skin,
Uh-huh.
even internal organs,
Okay.
to create a complete genetic picture.
So?
It's a bit like putting together a puzzle,
Yeah.
searching for any variations
Uh-huh.
that might indicate the presence of two distinct cell lines.
It sounds like a real detective process.
It definitely is. And we
Yeah.
use a variety of techniques,
Yeah.
like karyotyping,
Okay.
which examines the chromosomes in cells.
Uh-huh.
Another technique is microsatellite analysis,
Okay.
which compares specific DNA sequences
Yeah.
at various locations
Okay.
to identify any inconsistencies.
Okay, so it's not just about comparing one DNA sample to another.
Right.
It's about meticulously examining the entire genetic landscape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes even physical signs,
Okay.
like different colored eyes
Yeah.
or unique pigmentation patterns,
Uh-huh.
can provide clues that prompt further genetic investigation.
So chimerism can be hidden,
Right.
like in Lydia and Karen's cases.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Or it can manifest in physically observable ways.
Exactly.
Like with Taylor. That's incredible.
It is.
But let's get back to those testing techniques you mentioned.
Okay.
Microsatellite analysis.
Uh-huh.
That sounds familiar.
Yes.
Doesn't that have applications in other areas of genetics?
You're absolutely right. It's a very versatile tool. Scientists use microsatellite analysis in a range of fields,
Wow.
from mapping the human genome to tracing ancestry and even tracking the spread of infectious diseases.
So it's not just a niche technique used solely for detecting chimerism.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's a fundamental tool in the geneticist's toolkit,
Right.
helping us understand the intricate patterns and variations within DNA.
This is all so fascinating.
It is.
But before we get too carried away with the technical details,
Okay.
I'm curious to know more about the different types of chimerism.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that it can manifest in various ways.
Right.
So I'm guessing there's a whole spectrum of chimerism out there.
You're spot on.
Okay, cool.
And each type has its own unique characteristics and implications. We've already touched on fraternal twin chimeras,
Right?
where two fraternal twins fuse,
Yeah.
resulting in a single individual with two sets of DNA.
Right. Like Lydia Fairchild and Karen Keegan.
Exactly.
What other types are there?
Well, there's tetragrammatic chimerism,
Tetragrammatic chimerism.
which is even more remarkable.
Yeah.
It occurs when two eggs are fertilized by two different sperm
What?
and then merge,
Hey, my goodness.
creating a single individual with genetic contributions from four parents.
4 parents.
Yes,
Now that is truly mind-boggling.
it really challenges our understanding of what's biologically possible.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize how much we still have to learn about the complexities of human development.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then there's microchimerism,
Okay.
which is a more subtle form of chimerism.
Uh-huh.
It involves a smaller scale exchange of cells,
Okay.
typically between mother and child during pregnancy.
So it's not about a complete merging of two individuals,
Right.
but rather a subtle mingling of cells.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
It is.
But if it's so common,
Uh-huh.
why don't we see more noticeable effects?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are still exploring.
Okay.
While microchimerism is relatively common,
Yeah.
the number of foreign cells present is usually quite small.
Okay.
Their impact on our bodies is still not fully understood,
Right.
but there's growing evidence that they might play a role in everything from immune system development to autoimmune diseases.
So these tiny populations of cells could have a much bigger impact than we initially realized.
It's definitely a possibility that's worth further investigation.
Microchimerism.
Yes.
It's almost like a secret handshake between mother and child at the cellular level.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
It really captures the subtle but potentially profound nature of this phenomenon.
It's amazing to think that we could all be carrying a bit of our mothers or children within us, influencing our health and biology in ways we're just beginning to understand.
It's a reminder that the human body is an incredibly complex and interconnected system.
Yeah.
And as we delve deeper into the world of genetics,
Uh-huh.
we're likely to uncover even more surprises along the way.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground so far.
We have.
We've explored the definition of chimerism,
Right.
delved into real-life cases,
Uh-huh.
and even touched on the different types and testing techniques.
Exactly.
But I'm eager to learn more about the implications of all of this.
Okay.
Why does chimerism matter?
That's the big question.
What are the real-world consequences
Right.
of having two sets of DNA?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
And it's one we'll dive into deeply as we
sure.
continue our exploration.
Okay.
Chimerism isn't just a fascinating biological anomaly.
Right.
It has significant implications for law, medicine,
Okay.
and even our understanding of personal identity.
Okay. I'm all ears. Let's move on to the next chapter of this genetic saga.
So you asked why chimerism matters. Well, let's start with the legal implications. As we saw with Lydia Fairchild's case,
Right.
chimerism can completely upend our understanding of DNA evidence.
Yeah.
It raises questions about the reliability of paternity tests, criminal investigations,
Oh, wow.
even inheritance claims.
It's like the foundation of our legal system.
Right.
DNA evidence
Huh?
can be shaken by this phenomena.
Exactly.
That's definitely something to think about.
Absolutely. If someone is a chimera and unaware of it,
Right.
standard DNA tests can produce misleading results.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a scenario where a suspect is wrongly accused or exonerated based on incomplete genetic information.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
It highlights the need for more sophisticated testing methods that take chimerism into account.
It sounds like chimerism is forcing our legal system to adapt and evolve to accommodate these new complexities.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And as genetic testing becomes more commonplace,
Right.
we're bound to uncover more cases of chimerism,
Yeah.
leading to even more legal challenges.
That's a bit unsettling, to be honest.
It can be.
It makes you wonder how many cases in the past might have been decided incorrectly because chimerism wasn't even on the radar.
It's a valid concern. And it underscores the importance of ongoing research and education
Yeah.
to ensure that the legal system can handle these complex cases fairly and accurately.
Speaking of complex cases,
Okay.
let's shift gears and talk about the medical implications of chimerism.
Mm-hmm.
You hinted at some of these challenges earlier.
Right.
Can you elaborate on how chimerism affects things like organ transplants?
Of course. Remember how we discussed that different tissues within a chimera can have different DNA?
Yes.
This becomes a crucial factor in organ transplantation.
Okay.
If a chimera needs a transplant,
Uh-huh.
the donor organ needs to be carefully screened to ensure compatibility with the recipient's specific tissue type at the transplant site.
So you could reject an organ from your own body because of chimerism.
It's possible, yeah.
That's wild.
It's a very real possibility. And it complicates the already challenging process of finding suitable organ donors.
Right?
Doctors need to be aware of the potential for chimerism,
Yeah.
especially when dealing with patients who have a history of twin pregnancies or unusual genetic test results.
It sounds like chimerism is adding a whole new layer of complexity to the world of medicine.
It absolutely is. And it's not just limited to organ transplants.
Oh, really?
Chimerism also has implications for fertility treatments.
Wow. Okay.
Imagine a scenario where a couple undergoes in vitro fertilization using their own sperm and egg,
Uh-huh.
but the resulting child doesn't appear to be genetically related to one of the parents.
Oh, wow.
This could be due to chimerism in either the mother or the father.
That raises some pretty serious ethical and emotional questions.
You're right. It highlights the importance of genetic counseling and informed consent in these types of procedures.
Yeah.
Couples need to be aware of the possibility of chimerism
Uh-huh.
and understand the potential implications for their family planning.
It's a lot to consider. And it seems like chimerism isn't just about the biology.
Right.
It touches on so many other aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
Our legal system, our medical practices, even our personal relationships and sense of self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chimerism challenges us to think differently about what it means to be an individual.
Yeah.
If someone has two distinct sets of DNA,
Uh-huh.
does that make them two people in one body?
Wow.
Or is there a way in which those two genetic identities merge to create a single unique self?
Now that's a philosophical question if I've ever heard one.
It's a question that philosophers and scientists are still grappling with,
Right.
and there's no easy answer. But I think it's a question worth pondering
Yeah.
because it forces us to confront the complexity and fluidity of human identity.
It's like chimerism is holding up a mirror to our understanding of who we are,
Yeah.
showing us that the boundaries of self are not always as clear-cut as we might think.
I like that metaphor. It really captures the essence of what chimerism teaches us about the human experience.
Right.
It challenges us to embrace ambiguity and to recognize that even our own bodies can hold mysteries that we're only just beginning to unravel.
So we've talked about the legal and medical implications of chimerism,
Right?
but what about the ethical considerations?
Uh-huh.
What kind of dilemmas does chimerism pose in terms of privacy, consent, and genetic testing?
That's a crucial area to address.
Yeah.
As genetic testing becomes more widely available and sophisticated,
Right.
we need to be mindful of the ethical implications for individuals who might be chimeras.
Yeah.
Should someone be informed if genetic testing incidentally reveals that they're a chimera?
Oh, that's a good question.
What about situations where chimerism is suspected, but further testing is needed to confirm it?
Yeah.
Who decides when and how that testing is done?
It sounds like there's a real need for guidelines and protocols to address these ethical challenges.
There certainly is.
Yeah.
And those guidelines need to be developed in consultation with geneticists, medical professionals,
Yeah.
ethicists,
Yeah.
and legal experts
Okay.
to ensure that they strike a balance between advancing scientific knowledge and protecting individual rights.
It's a delicate balance.
It is.
And it makes you realize that the more we learn about genetics, the more complex our world becomes.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes this field so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving,
Uh-huh.
challenging us to reevaluate our assumptions and to expand our understanding of what it means to be human.
Well, this has been a truly eye-opening conversation so far.
It has.
We've explored the science, the stories, and the ethical dilemmas of chimerism.
Yeah,
And I think it's safe to say that we've all learned a thing or two along the way.
absolutely.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the future of chimerism research. What are some of the unanswered questions that scientists are still exploring?
Oh, there's still so much we don't know about chimerism.
Yeah.
One area of active research is the role of microchimerism in health and disease.
Okay.
As I mentioned earlier, there's growing evidence that these small populations of foreign cells might play a role in autoimmune diseases, cancer,
Right.
and even tissue regeneration.
So these tiny cellular visitors could be either friend or foe,
Right.
depending on the circumstance.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And understanding how they interact with our bodies could have major implications for developing new therapies and treatments.
That's incredibly exciting.
It is.
Are there any other areas of chimerism research that you find particularly intriguing?
I'm also fascinated by the potential for chimerism in regenerative medicine.
Okay.
Some scientists are exploring the possibility of using chimeric cells to repair damaged tissues or even grow new organs.
Wow.
It's a very cutting-edge field,
Yeah.
but the potential benefits are enormous.
It sounds like chimerism could revolutionize the way we approach healthcare in the future.
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
And as we continue to unravel the mysteries of chimerism, who knows what other breakthroughs await us?
Well, it's clear that chimerism is much more than just a biological curiosity.
Right.
It's a phenomenon that has far-reaching implications for our legal system, our medical practices, and even our understanding of what it means to be human.
Exactly.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder.
Right.
If chimerism can blur the lines between individuals, what does it say about the very concept of self?
That's a profound question.
Yeah.
And I think it's one that each of us has to grapple with on our own terms. Chimerism challenges us to expand our understanding of what it means to be human,
Right.
to embrace the diversity and complexity of our genetic heritage.
Well said. It's a reminder that we're still learning so much about ourselves, about our bodies, and about the intricate interplay between nature and nurture. But before we go, what advice would you give to someone who might be concerned that they are a chimera?
Well, that's a great question. I imagine it can be,
Yeah.
unsettling to think that your own body might be harboring, genetic secrets.
Yeah, absolutely. For most people, chimerism is unlikely to cause any problems. As we've discussed, it often goes undetected throughout a person's entire life.
Right.
However, if someone has a family history of twins or unexplained medical conditions or discrepancies in DNA test results, it might be worth having a conversation with their doctor.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not something to be overly concerned about, but, It's good to be aware of the possibility, especially if there are any red flags.
Exactly. And even if someone discovers they are a chimera, it doesn't necessarily change who they are as a person.
Right.
It's simply another layer of complexity to their biological makeup.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a reminder that we're all unique, and our genetic stories can be far more intricate than we might imagine.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I think that's a beautiful message to take away from our exploration of chimerism. It challenges us to embrace diversity, not just in the world around us, but within our own bodies.
Well said. This deep dive has been a truly mind-expanding experience. We've uncovered a hidden world within our own cells, a world of genetic complexity and ethical dilemmas. We've explored the science, the stories, and the profound questions that chimerism raises about identity, individuality, and the very nature of what it means to be human.
It's been a privilege to share this journey with you and our listeners. Chimerism is a testament to the incredible wonders of biology and the importance of staying curious about the world and ourselves.
And a huge thank you to all our deep divers out there for joining us on this fascinating exploration. If you're eager to learn more about chimerism and other genetic marvels, be sure to check out the resources we've linked in the show notes. Until next time, keep those minds curious and remember, you might be more than you think you are.